Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we discuss the astrological energies of April 8th to April 15th as we move more fully into Aries season. And over the course of this week, we're going to have both Mars and Mercury enter into the Aries energy signature, crossing over the 0 degrees of Aries world point and igniting new endeavors, thoughts, and potentials that maybe you've been sensing or feeling have been in a preparation mode. Currently, we've had 4 planets in Aries: Neptune, Saturn, the Sun, and Chiron. Now, each of these is significant because they are bringing in an energetic layer of new potentials and beginnings that we are moving forward into. The Sun in Aries has brought your fuller consciousness to what you are intending, to where you may feel compelled to take action and move ahead. But the other 3 energies here, Neptune, Saturn, and Chiron, are further away, meaning there's a sense of you're aware of a new potential and beginning point in your life, but it could have felt more distant, more uncertain, and a little bit further away. But over this week, with both Mars and Mercury moving into Aries, the energy is brought into your personal awareness, and it's arriving into your energy field at a more specific level. And so one thing to keep in mind is that this April is a threshold month. It is where we're moving into new options, developments, and possibilities that are a signal from your soul that you're ready for a new quest. And it brings to mind the hero's journey, which was articulated by Joseph Campbell, and it is about a universal pattern of transformation that is experienced because our energy is being called forward. We're sensing there is a new part of ourselves to discover, and that occurs after we have reached the edge of knowing ourselves, the edge of understanding our self-identity and who we have developed into based on a previous hero's journey, a previous level of consciousness or self-understanding. And so there's a strong energy signature here that also relates to a certain restlessness or dissatisfaction. You could feel that you have more readiness to begin something, even though there is no full clarity yet. There is no full certainty. There is a vulnerability here at the stage of beginnings. There is the unknown. There can be big unknowns, but underneath that, you also might feel there's a lot of excitement and draw and inspiration. There's a stronger energy moving you forward that could help bust through any of those vulnerabilities or uncertainties that are often very loud when big change is occurring and unfolding. Our survival mechanisms kick in. Our emotional patterns show up. Our ego and our mental messages come through even stronger. Questioning, doubting, wondering, trying to find safety and security in the unknown. But this is why beginning points are courageous. This is why there is a compelling feeling here that pushes you past a fear or vulnerability and takes you further into a new start that is wildly unknown. And this is the bravery of Aries. This is also where it requires honesty with yourself around how you perhaps handle and feel around new beginnings, because this could be exactly the moment that every fear comes up, every doubt, every worry arrives. And that is essentially your mind, your ego, and or parts of your energy field ultimately wanting to keep you safe, wanting to prevent you from being harmed, or wanting to ensure nothing horrible or no worst case scenarios occur for you. And so it's part of our operating systems to have these things pop up, give us their messages, but then it's also up to us to rise above them and to declare, but I'm different now. I'm stronger. I'm more evolved. I'm more aware of what I want and what I desire. I'm aware of the past or what I've been been through. I'm aware of what has come before today, but none of that defines the future. None of that is a determining factor in what is to come next, because this is a whole new energy field. And as we move through April, you might be sensing and feeling more into how you approach big life beginnings, because that is what this energy is all about. And as I was preparing for today's show and looking at, of course, the astrology and how Mars enters Aries April 9th, and then Mercury enters Aries April 14th, I was getting the visual of preparing a fire where you gather all the essentials in the fire pit. And I'm seeing this as a rustic true fire where you maybe build the wood in a teepee shape, where you need the wood, kindling, tinder. You need to have protection to keep out any wind. And of course, you need fire, the matches to get it going. And so what I'm seeing here is that it could feel like you've been slowly building something. It's been coming together, but it's only as you're building and preparing the fire that you see where there might be weaknesses, where maybe the wood isn't fully dried or there's too much wind from one direction. And so you have to adapt in order for this fire to be successful. And so as Mars enters Aries, Mars is going to bring in that trigger of the flames, of igniting the fire. Mars moves into his home sign of Aries and he's ready to go. There's a recharge here. There's a new source of life moving through this Mars where he wants to get something moving and fired up. And he comes in with those matches that work, that light what you've been building. And sometimes, of course, that happens gradually or immediately, but then that fire also needs to be tended to. So I'm feeling like this is a week where there is more energy arriving to move you forward, to light something and get it truly initiated into this new energy field. And then as Mercury moves into Aries, this Mercury brings in more ideas, solutions, and faster moving developments that support the mind in aligning with these new starts. So this is a week where the physical body and overall energy field of Mars is moving into the new start, followed by the mind getting on board with the new potentials and possibilities that can unfold. And so a new quest is meant to begin here in April, but it's interesting because a part of you could feel not ready. A part of you could feel overwhelmed with the pressure or even an urgency, especially if you're following the astrology and you're like, oh my goodness, what is starting? What do I need to be ready for? Why do I have this anxiety about things moving too fast? So of course, listen to yourself and whatever might be arriving. But the way I'm seeing it energetically, which I hope can support in calming down any urgency or pressure, is that if something is energetically correct for you, it won't pass you by, you won't miss it. And any of that internal pressure that maybe you're sensing or feeling is a validation of how important something might be. And how I'm seeing the energy arrive is that it looks like there are new energy fields being presented right in front of us. And I'm seeing them aligning with the 7 chakras. And it's interesting because with so many planets in Aries, it's almost like there is this initiation and movement into higher level frequencies that we are learning to adapt and integrate. And I'm seeing that through, again, this lineup of energies being presented right in front of the physical body that are newly aligning with you and this next phase in your self-identity and who you're becoming in this new cycle. And the Aries energy could simply be planting a seed of consciousness within you of what you want next, to expand and open up into what that could be for you. Because a big part of this threshold and these new openings that are arriving is that you also could sense that there's no going back to who you were, where you've been, or what you've known. And that could just be something you're feeling internally and subtly in your energy field. Or maybe it feels very sparky and very alive. But there's a sense here for each of us with this strong imprint of Aries energy that we are birthing into new experiences and new versions of ourselves that also align with new aspects of our energy fields. And so visualizing these new energy fields in front of you, whatever that looks like for you, could also be a way to calm down the energy, to stabilize yourself, and to feel more grounded in what is arriving and what you are integrating. And let's be real, it can feel too like maybe you're in between worlds, like maybe there's things that are closing out or ending, and you don't have capacity for a full new start. Maybe you're sensing there's other cycles you're moving through at a more personal level that are revealing what you are needing to take care of, or where you're sort of in the murky middle of something. With all this Aries energy though, you could have some quick transitions and faster moving developments that are operating in the background, which is meant to provide peace of mind that if you're feeling like you might miss something, the slower moving energy of Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries is sort of pacing these new starts and beginning points with waves of energy, because both Neptune and Saturn in Aries move slowly. And it's interesting because I'm just seeing like these simultaneous new starting points, but they're moving at slightly different speeds, but they're all moving forward. And so one of the bigger intentions of April is to also bring your attention to what is interrupting life as I know it as part of my personal evolution. What old patterns are falling off or falling away so that I can move into new expressions of healthier patterns and consciousness? What is better for me now and what is better for me next? So however you're feeling the newness of these Aries energy and the threshold that is being presented, it's ultimately meant to be moving you forward into new parts of yourself that require more courage, honesty, and self-actualization. And so on April 8th, Mars in Pisces sextiles Uranus and Taurus at 29 degrees. And there could be a sense of a closure here, of moving on and moving away from something that actually feels like a relief. There could be a big exhale and a calmness that arrives as Mars gets to this final degree of the zodiac and has some support from Uranus and Taurus, which is liberating relief. You could even feel physically more tired or worn out if you've been holding something in your energetic body, especially emotionally, because this is where Mars is at a state of full surrender. This is laying flat in corpse pose on the yoga mat, and then there is a shot of adrenaline and the blood starts pumping with desire and excitement as Mars moves into Aries on April 9th and is ready to go. This could even feel like ready to stand up and sprint and move quickly with Mars moving into Aries after he has been restored. And as Mars moves into Aries, this has an important energetic ripple effect because Mars now rules all the planets in Aries, which shifts their frequencies as well. So Mars in Aries is now going to be ruling the expression of every planet in Aries: Sun, Saturn, Chiron, Neptune, plus Eris. And this brings in more activations for movement, strength, leadership, pioneering endeavors. There could be a sense of, I'm ready to go for it. I'm ready to do the thing. I have the energy now, physically and emotionally, to take this on. So important beginning points are being presented here that, again, maybe you've been pondering, planning for, thinking about. You've been building that fire. You've been planning for it to get started. Here comes Mars to ignite something and move it ahead. Then Mars is going to have have an exact conjunction to Neptune on April 12th. That is Sunday. And that occurs at 2 degrees, 37 minutes of Aries. Mars conjunct Neptune in Aries brings in a new level of spiritual initiation. And this is an interesting energy that can go a few ways. That's because the Neptunian influence will dissolve and dilute energies that aren't burning authentically. In other words, you could actually feel exhausted and look for more rest with Mars and Neptune conjunct. But in Aries, especially at the beginning of Aries here at a world point orb and degree, there's a sense of what do you want to set on fire? What are you willing to put energy into that is going to spiritually evolve you and develop? There could also be new inspirations and downloads coming through that are quite potent. So this Mars conjunct Neptune could give you a whole new vision on what you're creating. There's big creative energy here, a lot of imagination and gusto. A lot of desire and forward movement is possible. This Mars could even be more receptive to the downloads that Neptune in Aries is bringing forth. And do keep in mind that the energy signature here is about what's brand new. What is presenting itself that you've never done, never tried, you've never taken the risk on it, and it's coming through very strongly. And I'm feeling this too as maybe something your higher self has been preparing you for or sensing is a possibility. And then with Mars, it aligns with the physical body and your personal willpower to make it so, to make it happen. And this can also burn away confusion, doubts, misconceptions, illusions, anything that isn't real. Because I'm seeing too that this Mars-Neptune conjunction in Aries is purifying. There's a purifying fire here that is burning at a soul level for you to know yourself even better and to feel confident and strong in what you desire now. And so that could be part of this motivation. And as I say that, I'm now being pulled into a cellular level cleansing, that there is a soul reset occurring. And the fire of Aries is purifying and removing any past cycles, lingering imprints, or previous energies that no longer serve you going forward. So almost like this spiritual rebirth is happening over the course of this next week that could bring about a new lease on life, a new sense of who you are, what you desire, what you want, and then having the energy aligning with your intuitive guidance to go for it. And keep in mind, this could certainly be possibilities and potentials that you're playing with. There could be new creative inspirations here that you want to test out and explore. And because Neptune is influential here, Neptune's energy is more powerful than Mars. Even though Mars is in his strength in Aries, Neptune is an overarching presence that is guiding this Mars. So this can really expand what you're feeling, what you're sensing, even getting new visuals coming in, because I'm seeing this as an expansion of psychic senses that are coming online in this new energy field because of the new frequencies you're holding. And this could mean that you feel like all of your senses have elevated. Perhaps that your psychic abilities are clearer and stronger. I'm even seeing this as a feeling that what we would consider holographic images feel very present and real. Like you can sense someone's energy field right next to you, or you can see something very clearly, whether that is a landscape, an environment, a situation, whatever it may be. It feels like part of the initiation into being the next level spiritual human. And that Neptune's influence is working with our physical body, aura, and psychic senses, like a full sensory activation that is hard to describe and put into words, which is exactly what I am sensing right now. And then it feels like it becomes even stronger and more real once Mercury goes into Aries on April 14th, which I'll get to in just a moment, but there's a few more transiting aspects that occur before that. So on April 13th, Venus in Taurus sextiles Jupiter in Cancer at 16 degrees. This is quite beautiful energy, very loving, kind, soft, nurturing, very creative and feminine as well, in terms of the ability to feel into what do you need? What supports you now? There can be an overall sense of feeling safe and secure with Venus in Taurus sextiling Jupiter in Cancer. You could be seeking more safety, calm, and harmony. This is a beautiful day for any heart-based connections, friendships, empathic energies, and whatever just makes you feel good. There's a feel-good quality here to Venus sextiling Jupiter. And it could even bring you into your personal world just to look at what feels right for me today, what feels good, what do I need, and to even tap into more quiet grounding. And that could be welcomed there on April 13th, especially during all of these waves of Aries energy. Now on April 14th, Mercury in Pisces will sextile Uranus in Taurus at 29 degrees before entering into Aries. And this is also where you might be ready for a mental break. There could be a sense here of, I've completed this, I'm done with this, I'm not going to think about this anymore. Mercury moving through the final degrees of Pisces is that letting go of what has been taking up too much of your mental space. If you've been lost in something, trying to figure it out, searching for the meaning or wanting to understand it from multiple angles, going into the depths of how you feel, this could be a time when you just feel liberated and free of wherever the mind has been wandering. And it's in that place of letting it go that, of course, you get the clarity in whatever you've been trying to figure out or understand. And Uranus and Taurus can, of course, bring in that jolt of higher wisdom and understanding. And then Mercury moves across 0 degrees of Aries, the world point degree, and is refueled with new life, fresh ideas, fast-moving developments and communications that gets this Mercury moving again. And this is where Mercury, the messenger, can suddenly have a lot going on. A lot of communications and ideas start rolling in. Plans come together quickly. A lot is being said or expressed. Now, Mercury in Aries can speak too fast and not take time to think things through. So with this energy coming through, it will be necessary to stay aware of what you're saying yes to, of what you're doing, of what's going on, because it would be easy to be swept away in the excitement of new beginnings and then realize you forgot something or it isn't exactly what you thought. So part of the Mercury in Aries is to move with the new developments that are coming through, but ensure you're asking questions, you're gathering information and understanding the details. This is the energy of we're setting off on a new adventure, get in the wagon, and we'll explain the plan as we go. With Mercury entering Aries, you could feel that mentally you're now ready for what you need to do next or where you're being called to move forward. Mercury is the last planet to move into Aries in this cycle, so it could feel like the mind is the last thing to get on board. But then you could be surprised at how quickly things move forward and developments occur once Mercury enters Aries. So this is the week when we have many planets fully in Aries. And something to keep in mind is that not only is this about the new quest and new energies that are aligning for you, but we have to keep in mind that when there is a lot of energy all gathered together, especially in one astrology sign, that we can lack perspective and balance. In fact, this energy can be too subjective and too personal. It could feel like everyone is just wrapped up into their own personal world and they've lost sight of the bigger picture or of other people or of what is going on at a grander scale. In other words, your personal world might be too limited, and that also could be contributing to any internal pressure or balancing points that are missing. If it feels like everyone is trying to figure something out, including yourself, then one thing to do is go into the opposite sign of Aries, which is Libra, to provide balancing perspectives into whatever is all consuming for you. Talk it out, share it, discuss it, hear other people's insights or viewpoint, especially people you trust, obviously, and who you can share your own personal experiences with. But this can also help with moving the energy out of the body, out of the head, out of the emotions, and also calm down any of that urgency or pressure that you might feel caught up in. The Aries energy can also be impatient, frustrated, angry, and impulsive. And with Mars and Mercury entering into the sign, those energy fields could certainly be revved up. And you might see that people do come across as more impatient. And there can even be more accidents because of that frustration or impulsiveness. So be careful out there with your vehicles and your unicorns, because the Mars in Aries can be accident prone. And we certainly don't want any unicorns being hurt over the course of this transit. We are also approaching the Aries new moon on April 17th at 27 degrees of Aries in your chart. I have a video for you on YouTube going through this chart, discussing the two stelliums that are present here, because each is important. We have the stellium of energies in early Aries, Mars, Neptune, Saturn, and Mercury. All four of these planets are also sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. We're going to talk more about that in next Wednesday's show, but that's part of what is happening here, is that we are facing fears that allow us to evolve into more authentic expressions of ourselves, to move past any of those soul imprints that have previously defined us or kept us in old roles. This is now a cycle of empowerment and deep internal transformation. It's very influential at this time, especially if you have planets or points in the early degrees of Aries and or Aquarius, as well as the early degrees of the fire signs and the air signs. So any planets or points between 2 to 8 degrees, 2 to 8 degrees of Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, or 2 to 8 degrees of Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. This is an important time for you that could even be difficult to grasp your mind around right now, but the energy signature here is moving you forward into more parts of yourself. And that's another thing I'm seeing, is that this is expansive energy. This is a deep soul activation that you're moving more fully into a whole new timeline, even if your ego or mind is resisting it for whatever reasons might be arriving or coming up. Honestly, that's normal, right? That's normal anytime we go through big energy activations, life changes, and moving into new chapters. So there's a lot of initiations going on here as our old identities begin to dissolve and we move across a threshold that is reshaping us. I'm hearing alchemical fire. Again, that purifying fire, but it's so much more than that, because it's evolving us at a deep internal core level. And do keep in mind that this is open and available for everyone. Every single person can powerfully shift and change with these energies. Although some will resist it, they will want to step back and remain in their current identity or be locked into their ego or current sense of self. So this is about your personal sovereignty and free will decisions, as is everything. But the more you're saying yes to yourself right now, the more it will be rewarded. The more that you'll see these new manifestations come through that might not arrive exactly in April. And that is important to note too, that because this is an initiation beginning point, unlike anything else we've had, there are things that are going to show up along the way that will unfold over the next few months, even the next few years, which is part of the Saturn in Aries energy effect, where Saturn is on that slower, denser timeline. Then we have this Neptune in Aries, which brings in waves of development and inspiration, while also then taking out and removing the previous cycle. So there's a lot going on here on different timelines, but maybe that's part of what you're sensing in terms of this alchemical fire. It's all working together to transmute, reshape, evolve, and transform in ways that maybe you only see in hindsight. Like this could be the year where you look back on April 2026 and say, wow, there was a lot changing and happening for me that I was kind of sensing, but not fully seeing. But now when I look back on it, I can see how pivotal April was in planting those new seeds and moving me through a threshold of some kind that was quite personal and perhaps even life-changing. So keep in mind that there could even be more invitations right now. Invitations to move forward, to grow, change, create, and evolve. You could even feel, again, that uncertainty come up, that vulnerability of being open to the unknown. But it feels like there are parts of us ready to go, parts of us ready to leap, and those parts are coming up against the other parts that are like clinging to what's familiar, and then that continues to create that internal pressure. But keep in mind, the universe is speaking to you through repeated themes, synchronicities, signs, messages. You could sense that the universe is giving you more forward momentum and more openings that are affirming and confirming. And so this is a week to stay open to whatever is arriving and to check in on how each of your 7 chakras are feeling around that openness. Because it's interesting, you could check in with each of your 7 chakras and might realize that some are really open and some are locked and closed and not available. So that might be an interesting exercise to just go through around what parts of me are open to these new energies of what I'm birthing and becoming, what parts of me are not and why, and would you want to offer those parts to this alchemical fire to transmute or burn away any of those fears, emotions, or density that might be repelling the new start or the new beginnings that are ultimately right on time for you, as they are for all of us. And that's part of the grand synchronicity of this time, is how things are syncing up to support the new beginnings and to move us ahead for the best and highest good of all. And that's another way to break out of any of this overly personalized Aries energy, is to consider how can this affect and influence people in the best and highest possible way. In other words, when it's not just about you, when it's about others, when it's about the collective consciousness or a community, or a partner or a group endeavor or your company or whatever the case may be, how can these new aspects of you, this new birthing energy, be something that you see as beneficial to all involved? And that's part of the expansive quality of it. It can also bust us out of any fears or limitations. We also can start to see how your growth and new options are benefiting more than just you. And that is something we're aware of in the higher realms and in the higher levels of consciousness, is how can my own personal growth be a beautiful gift to the collective field? And when you're moving with that intention, when you're really owning and embodying that intention, things can sync up even easier because you're then operating with a higher intention as well as a broader willingness to benefit and support the collective good. The universe loves that. The universe loves those intentions. And again, this is where you can step back and see things more objectively, that how you're growing and the new choices you're making and the changes that you're seeking in your life are going to bring about a lot of good things, maybe for many people. And this emphasizes the synergy of the individual affecting the collective and bringing new life into the collective field. So you would want to identify where you have Aries in your chart by house or houses, because there is growing energy here over the next week in what you're being guided to begin or try in a new way. And we will continue to discuss this in next Wednesday's show, especially as we look at the Aries new moon on April 17th, followed by the sun's ingress into Taurus on April 19th. This is when new beginnings will be stabilized, as well as practically assessed for what will work and what is required for success. And speaking of new, I'm looking forward to seeing and meeting so many of you over the next few months through the Crystal Pyramid Experience astrology workshops that I am bringing to 7 different cities around the US. We have just added a second day for Ojai. If you would like to join me in Ojai on Saturday, May 2nd, for these 2 live astrology workshops. We have tickets now available for the second day. These are live astrology workshops taking you deeper into your cosmic codes and frequencies, as I'm going to teach and share more about what is aligned to be activated for all of us right now as of 2026 and going forward into the next decade. We're going to be looking at your astrology chart from more of a galactic viewpoint and discussing what is coming online now, what is awakening within us collectively and individually that is assisting with our ascension and expansion. It is important to know the 4 basics of your astrology chart in order to get the most out of these workshops. So that specifically means you want to be able to decipher the basics of your chart, including the 12 houses, 12 astrology signs, planets, and aspects. So you want a basic level understanding of your chart, especially because we always come back to the basics in astrology. And from there, we build and learn more. So if you would like to join us for this really awesome gathering of souls, please check out the 7 cities and dates where you can attend this Crystal Pyramid experience. In no particular order, I'll be in Austin, Texas, Ojai, California, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Charlotte, North Carolina, Boston, Massachusetts, and Orlando, Florida. I'll put the link in the show description if you want to check it out. Hopefully it aligns with your own schedule. And we are going to have a great gathering of co-creation energies and a lot of light and joy, which is truly needed on the planet now. So again, hope you can join me, and I'll put the information in the show description. Otherwise, wishing you a beautiful week ahead as we move more fully into these Aries energies. May you feel supported, invigorated, and alive with the new potentials that are being brought your way. And I hope this energy is also exciting you around the new life chapters that are beginning. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back with another podcast episode on Monday, but I do have more videos for you being released on YouTube over the weekend. Take good care, have a beautiful day ahead, and I'll see you back here soon.